Hello and welcome to the Face Downs, your source for TCG news and all things Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm Lucas.
I'm Ruben.
And I'm Joe.
And hello.
Welcome
back.
You have heard that prodigal intro music for the first time in a while.
Oh, 7 weeks, isn't it?
We should just call every episode Sorry
About
the wait.
This is a podcast.
This point.
This is a podcast I thought we'd never have to make. This is us taking accountability and us apologizing.
Yes, one of us has reproduced.
Yeah.
I know that's just a terrifying prospect, but a Yu-Gi-Oh player has had a child.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it's
No.
weird. No.
No, it's yeah. So I've had my son Lucas. Sorry, not Lucas. Elliot. And he he's been full on. We've had about 6 or so weeks now of not much sleep and full-time work and all that sort of stuff. So podcast was very much in the background. But we're starting to be in a bit more of a routine now. So I think, fingers crossed, we'll start probably being able to do one of these each week again, and start talking about Yu-Gi-Oh again, I suppose.
You can never escape Yu-Gi-Oh, you know?
No.
You can have a massive life-altering child enter your world, and you're like, but
And you go, is the band list up? Yeah.
I could just activate Shaddoll Fusion right now. This baby's awesome, but like, have you ever resolved Shaddoll Fusion? Oh man, so good.
No, so yeah, obviously my focus has been on that sort of thing, and Yu-Gi-Oh has been in the background a bit. But I have been going to Hobby League and running it again for about the last 3 weeks.
Well,
So-
before we talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, tell us about like the kid. I just want to hear about your life.
About my
We're gonna
life,
talk
yeah.
about Yu-Gi-Oh plenty, yeah.
Lots of bum changing, lots of poops, upbacks, baths. Not a lot of sleep, but like he is getting a lot better now.
Is he a bath fan?
He is. He loves the bath. He just like you put him in there, he chills out, and off. It's good.
That's good.
I've
What
tried
about
to teach him a few combos. It hasn't gone too well. He like
You
kind of
tried,
just looks at me blankly.
Nappy plus
Well-
plus bedtime. I don't know.
I even like tried to teach him Eldritch, and he got the hang of that because easy.
Easy down.
But yeah, like yeah, it's been fun. Like I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed being a dad. Tara's being a good mum. So it's good times. But
And no more jokes about you being the dad of the podcast because you literally
I literally
are
am now. Yeah.
Yeah. Granddad of the podcast.
Old
now,
man
thank you.
Joe.
Old man
getting-
Joe.
Oh man, me. Yeah, it's been good fun though. Like as I say,
Yeah.
like it's life changing, but it's and everything's very busy now. But we're still trying to squeeze in a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh here and there, and I'm excited to actually play the new format as well because so much new
Yeah.
stuff's come out since
Well, not
the
to say that
baby.
we got pulled back just because there's going to be a banless podcast soon, and that's like the easiest content in the world.
But
But we are. Not
We are,
today,
yeah.
obviously, because the ban list is probably anywhere from 6 to 15 months away, I'd say.
yeah.
So for the time being, we're stuck with what we've got, and what we've got is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. There's your dog.
Oh, 1 second.
Can we get the
Carry
dog
on.
on the pod? Hang on.
Yeah. Can we get let's get Ollie on to speak about the
Joe's
the
muted
format.
himself.
Yeah, so we are the next update is a few months from now. So we're in the thick of it, doll. Power of the Elements has just come out. We're in a new format. Well, it's not a new format, new products.
Yeah.
And
It feels like a new
it
format.
feels like a new format.
I
You're
have
absolutely
not
right.
been scythe locked in like 2 weeks, and it feels great.
I haven't had anyone activate Mystic Mine against me.
Ooh.
I think that's more of a gentleman's because I'm going to put that card in my deck if it doesn't get banned. So it's kind of,
Oh.
I don't want to test with a card that doesn't exist. Fingers crossed.
I think this potentially, depending on what the ban list does, could be our format for OC as well.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, like if we don't see one in a month's time, that'll be it. And I don't know if Konami I don't know if they'll throw OC under the bus and put like a ban list out the week before or anything like that, but you never know.
I mean, I'd
so-
kind of live.
Yeah, I think it'd be
I
fine.
mean, I loved the last one. Effective immediately.
Yeah.
That was such a slay.
That was a gag.
Has that happened much in the past? I can't really.
Maybe
like,
emergency
apart from,
ban lists.
yeah, quote unquote emergency ban lists.
But yeah, I don't recall. I always think that they usually give a few days to like transition over until the new list. So yeah, wonder what they do this time.
So, new format. We've got Tellarknights, we've got Sprites, we've got Exorcisters.
Tellarknights.
Tellarknights?
So, okay. Tier elements. And yeah, Freudian slip, because I was going to ask, Joe, is this Duelist Alliance 2? I was literally sitting down and I was playing Tier elements versus Exorcisters, and I'm like, you might as well just summon Deltaros right now. This feels like I'm playing Shadows versus Tellarknights. I'm never going to get that right again. But, you know, it's kind of this interesting, like, 4-deck format right now, 4 to 3 deck format, and they feel really distinct and have like this huge sense of identity, right? Like you've got Tearlament playing basically Shadow BA stuff. Exorcisters just go and rank 4 past like it's Tellarknights all over again. And then you've got like the side combo decks like Punk, Sprite, and then Math Mech would be like, I don't know, anyone still trying to play Infernity or something. It feels very interesting that, you know, mirroring the best format, in your opinion, of all time is this sort of 4-deck or 5-deck format.
Yeah.
They're not all just doing the same thing. I think that's the main feeling.
Yeah, I've heard comparisons as well, where people have been talking about the Sprite and Tier Element being like Dragon Ruler and Spellbooks back in the day, and then like your Exorcisters are like the Evil Swarm of that format kind of thing. But I agree more with you. I feel like this is closer to a Duelist Alliance format where there's 4 decks in the format where like Punk and even to a certain extent like Furion can probably hold in there as well. Like, and there are
Furion.
neither. But like I'm saying that like, you know, there are decks out there like Furion that can still compete. I think not well, but like, you know, the format is more diverse than what like the Dragon Ruler format was. So I agree. I feel like this is very much like a Duelist Alliance format where there's the 3 or 4 core decks and then like quite a lot of rogue decks that can still fight.
Yeah, we're getting into what I think is like a tech format. Like you start, like you understand that there's a couple of boogeymen in the format that you'll inevitably go against, but you have to tech to those known rogue strategies that are out there. And it's really interesting to see people's thought processes and approaches to it. I think the big one is the inclusion or lack of hand traps in a lot of decks. Like especially look at a Tearlament strategy, there's a very minimal interaction in the form of non-engine. Like obviously,
there's a really good hand trap in Tearlaments.
Called Hovness is very powerful, but at the same time, it's like that's their Ash Blossom, that's their impermanence. Like they hope to do that on your turn to then generate some advantage, or at least mitigate some of the advantage your opponent's generating.
I agree. That card, I think, holds the glue of that deck together in a way that not a lot of decks have had in recent memory. Joe, how many you can't attack, it's your first turns have you seen yet? I've seen 2. One of them was me doing it to someone.
Not many, to be honest. Like mainly because I haven't been able to play much. But
I made Collider Heart Dragosta Pelia against a Salamangreat player on
that's
their
deadly.
first turn, and he like made Heat Soul and goes, "Oh, it's on 33. I'll go battle." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry, my dude. It is turn 1." And he went, "Oh yeah, okay."
Yeah, it's pretty cool in that sense that there's a deck that can do that, but it very much feels like a almost like a Floowandereeze kind of thing where it's our turn all the time. Which is cool. I like it. And going back to the comments on the hand traps, it seems to be like there is very much like 2 different types of decks that you play at the moment, where Tier Element, as you said, isn't playing any, but then like we look at Sprite on the other hand, they're playing quite a lot.
You look at Math Mech and it's just one card starter. So.
Yeah. So I'm looking right now at a Fort Worth regional first place list, and they've got like 12 hand traps
right now.
Yep.
Got
yeah.
what?
So
what's the first place list?
A Sprite list. and it's pretty much just very much standard Sprite, but with Prosperity mained, triple tactics, and then 12 hand traps.
See, I figured this would happen really early format because Sprite is such a solved deck.
Mm.
And it's really, really, really easy to play. All you need to know how to do is manage your negates and your hand traps. You don't have to think about combo lines. You don't have to think about playing around certain cards. And I think that really suits it to like early format, relatively open formats, because you're just gonna like hand trap everyone who's trying to do cute stuff and then win off the back of a pretty simple engine that gets you going. So I'm not surprised by that at all. These lists are just coming out while we do the podcast. So
yeah, literally just now.
We'll literally live update as all the other spice comes out. But yeah, I think the defining thing that makes this feel like Duelist Alliance is that the card quality has just shot through the moon, right? How many decks were coping on like this adventure pile, Hulk will get me to full combo, end on one negate and a scythe? A ton. And it was really weak. And besides Branded, I felt like the card quality had just really gone down in the last format, where everyone was relying on the same kind of generic payoff. And everyone was losing to the same hand traps. And it just felt like really low powered, despite everyone playing, relatively oppressive and, combative end boards, Scythe, etc. Whereas this format, you play against a Tearlament player and all their cards just feel like gas. Every single card is just an insane extender. You play against Sprite and they just open, the God Hand where they get like, the Live Twin link off and then do the full Sprite combo and then set 4. And you're like, what the hell is going on? I couldn't stop any of that. So yeah, it definitely feels like Duelist Alliance. The decks are so good, you don't have to mix them, right? That's kind of the defining factor, I think.
Yeah, I think, but also they get quite good once you start mixing them. Like you start taking a couple of engine pieces from, we've seen the Tearlaments on Sprite Elf.
Yes,
it's just
tiers are the
powerful.
most
like
adaptable.
they're the most open.
Because they don't lock you at all for some stupid reason into anything. Exorcistic doesn't blend well because of Martha locking you into the most restrictive thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And Sprite, even though you can mash it, it does feel like it takes away from the strength of the deck if you don't just have a handful of sprites. Because the whole point is you just can't really stop the sprite stuff.
What I've kind of liked seeing with these 3 decks that have come out is that they play themselves, as you guys saying, like they don't require outside engines like the Adventure engine. They don't really require many other things. They play in a very pure way, and that's what kind of makes it similar to what the Duelist Alliance era was like, where you had your Shadows, your BA, and like Cleaforts, Tellarknights. They all played their own cards. They didn't really have weird engines that like boosted them up until when like Clowns and things like that came out, but like.
We saw some like Shadol BA.
Yeah.
Definitely Shadol's. Always the fusion deck ends up playing everyone else's toys.
Yeah, because they can.
Every monster is technically a resource in those decks. Whereas, sprites don't play well with any a non-level 2 deck. So, aside from Live Twins, I don't think there's a deck in the format that I look at and go, that's a sprite deck.
Yes.
Actually, I've seen some Paleo Sprite, and that does have legs just because it's really good at making many toads, and that can honestly be a little bit over the edge, but it seems cope because that's like a trap deck in 2022 that is not Eldritch, which just seems bad.
Kind of brings me on to another point I wanted to talk to you guys about, is like where the current state of like the Adventure engine, because like before everyone was just screaming out for it to be hit all the time. What do you think now? Because like yes, these decks can probably utilize it still, but they almost seem better without it.
I'd probably still call for it to go. It's a little bit hindering in deck design. I think the same argument was made for like the Invoked engine. Everyone's like, oh, this is the best fusion engine you can put everywhere. That's it. Invoked was for like the longest time the best Dragoon engine. So
but it survived all that time, right?
It did survive all that time. But I think because it was a bit more fair.
Yeah.
Like, there are 6 copies of Rite of Aramesir, there are 4 copies of Meltdown.
I think because Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't rotate, they have to be a little careful about leaving things alone.
Too long.
Look back at the ban list right now, right? There's cards on the ban list that we do look at and go, well, would that make a huge splash if it were unbanned right now? Like Okay, they give us back Zodiac Barrage. Does Zodiac become the best deck? Well, no. But the next time there's a Beast Warrior deck, they get to just play Barrage. Does that just restrict, like, Adventure has this issue with it scales with how good your normal summon is. If your normal summon is, as good as Rhino Heart or Alaba, then you probably don't want to play it. But the minute they print another deck that doesn't need its normal to be relevant, I mean, Sprite currently could play it.
Yeah.
Then you just play it again, and it merges with everything. And I think even more than Invoked, you have to be careful when something can just, rear its ugly head again the minute it's relevant again and just show up when, you only get 40 cards in a deck. And if 8 of your cards are worse than the adventure package, you're just going to play the adventure package. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I don't think it should live.
Yeah, I don't want to obviously turn this into a banless podcast, but like it's the same sort of arguments for Hulk and even Scythe. Even Scythe, I feel like Scythe will be a card that, like, yes, like it goes through waves of being relevant and irrelevant, but like they always need to just look back, and they almost need to go back and be like, right, there's an old card that keeps propping up and being a problem. Let's just get rid of it, move on.
It's like VFD, right? VFD was legal for a long time and saw play in generators, and that's it. Some fringe Earth Machine decks were playing it.
The True King, True Draco, like the TKDYZ stuff.
Yeah, and it was around, and everyone's like, well, no one's summoning it, so it's probably fine. And then it came back, and everyone's like, no, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Scythe in the same boat. Right now, I don't think T-Element can play it. Sprite could play it, but probably have better things to worry about. The minute another deck can just do that, we'll just do it again, and we'll all be permanently. I mean, how many formats did we have? We had Union Carrier for a bit, and then we transitioned to, I guess DPE control, and then everyone realized DPE works really well with Scythe. It just doesn't take long for people to find another way to do this stuff.
What's DPE?
No.
A really expensive card that I shouldn't have bought. I think is what the answer is there.
It is crazy as well. I mean, how much the format shifted since the loss of Anaconda, and I think that's
thank God.
that fixed it almost like Yu-Gi-Oh overnight, like because it went from everyone just DPEing you to like everyone playing the deck again, and I think that's one of the best bans ever.
Verte going and Auroradon going were just like this match made. It was like, oh my goodness, you have done what is needed to be done.
I just do not have to hear DPE chain Dagda every game.
Yeah.
For the next month, and I'm happy about that. That was the worst.
So give Hero Fusion Destiny back. Right.
I agree. In fact, it should be at 4.
Yeah, why not?
And there should be a normal summon that searches Mask Change just on normal summon. Please.
The Warriors, the Hero Strike structure deck's like a good 3 years out from getting a retrain, so.
But when it does, heroes are going to be at least tier 3. You heard it here first.
we're future sight in this one.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it'll be tier 1. That's absolutely not true. Although, I mean, looking at like the Dark World deck, the Shaddoll deck, there's some pretty banging structure decks they've put out over the last few years. And heroes probably would be the next one to be like, damn, that's cracked.
Yeah, I mean, that's another good point of contention. We're finally getting a structure deck R in the TTG.
First one since Machina.
First one since Machina. We lost the Warrior one to Toon Chaos, the Dragunity one to Ghosts, and the Agents one to Ghosts 2. So I think they cracked on to the fact that people actually just want structure decks and they don't want to have to buy $40 product, or at least in New Zealand, to get one of the cards that you would get in the structure deck. But I mean, this is pretty exciting, and I think it sets a good precedent for the future. I mean, the Dark World stuff came out yesterday in Japan, and it's already doing quite well. Obviously, Max sees a card, but
who cares, baby?
So is Nico Main King, and
you can only play 60 cards max in a deck. Let's give this a go. Yeah. It's Dark Worlds. You forget. Y'all forgot. Grapha is not once per turn.
The new Rainbow, not once per turn.
No, that is hilarious. It is like the one deck that gets to live with Maxi because, girl, that's a win condition if you Maxi me at this point. I watched a Dark World replay where they drew their own whole entire deck as well, which in that case, it's like, nice Maxi, I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
I will also draw my entire deck and we'll slam our entire deck against each other and see who wins.
Yeah.
Very funny.
I think it has to be commended. Like Konami are bringing out some pretty decent products so far this year. I mean, what? this one
Hashtag-
set, bang, straight away, like up there is one of the best sets I can think of in the last like 2 to 3 years. Anyway,
Yeah, I'll give him credit too. Ghosts 2.
that was
like,
pretty good. Yeah.
turned a bunch of $50 stupidly expensive buy-in cards into 50-cent cards. Like
reprinted a card that was literally $200 US.
Alibur, Mega Riser, Downed Magician was like $40.
Even like
Centauri,
Necro Banshee, things like that.
Necro
Like
Banshee was like $20. Yeah, that was a really good like.
reprint
I don't
set.
know, like talking about Wanderese especially. It's like, how much does this deck cost? Oh, it's like $500. Actually, it's $50.
Well, you still need Prosperities, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can go extravagance. You can make it work.
You
But
can.
yeah.
And there were 3 of that in the Alba Strike structure deck.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that was a
great.
good structure deck, man. That was such a good structure deck.
Someone showed up at our hobby last time. Literally
Friday?
a new player with 2 of that structure deck, not even 3. Because I
Hmm.
played against him and he like sent like Albaz the Ashen off of Branded Fusion. I'm like, don't you send Tragedy? He's like, I don't have Tragedy. Because he doesn't have anything to search off of it. And then he just like beat Jordan,
yeah.
who's like a good
I
player.
lost a game to him.
And like you're like, damn, this deck's great. You just draw a Branded Fusion. It's not bad.
I was like, yeah, this is a pretty good structure deck. So I said you had like Alba Strike structure deck, you had Power of the Elements, and then like looking into the near future, you've got Darkwing Blast, which gives us Bisted and Kashari La, Pank 2, and DD Crow 2.
Pank 4.
Yeah. And Magnificent Mavens, which gives us the Ishizu things. Skipping over the other support because it's really all we care about. And then end of the year we get the Dark World deck. We get the Battles of Legend, which will have like the Doodle Beasts and all like the good Dino support. I think it's also got the Dice support as well, hopefully.
Oh god.
So we can FTK with
You're gonna see.
Telephone, even more consistency.
Mhm.
Megaton as well. I'm looking forward to. I feel like that's going to be pretty banging this year. Like,
What's in that one? That's
Ash.
Blavo. That's Blavo to Bode, right?
yeah, which is pretty decent. Like, you're going to probably get like things like Small Worlds, Lords, Prosperities, maybe. You know, like we'll see.
Oh,
but
that's-
like, it has
Super
potential.
Sword Soul Blackout.
Yeah.
So that every card in that deck can be foiled. Please.
Yep.
Please.
Yeah.
I'm
So I
already
mean,
mad that most of the element is common. Just looking,
That's crazy.
looking
Can we
through the
talk about
deck.
that?
yeah.
it's like bling, bling, bling. 11 commons.
Can we talk about
Bling.
the fact that both decks only have one super rare?
I know.
Secret or one super. Yeah.
One
True.
super,
True.
Like, they
Yeah.
got one super. Like Halfness is not a super. Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean,
The negates and sprite aren't super.
Yeah.
surely the next few OTS packs are going to be quite in demand.
I
Um,
think they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we say that, but we were waiting for a Sword Soul token for how long?
Still waiting.
Still waiting.
Still waiting. Yeah.
We made it in Japan. So
Got your slime tokens, Joe?
Got your slime and mask tokens.
No.
Oh,
But yeah, I think it's a testament though. Like every set so far, like you're kind of excited for a few cards, and like, and even like I have to commend like OTS packs are like still pretty good. Like yeah, the last one didn't hit that well, but like it's still got good cards in it, right? Like the super reprints were crazy in it. Like
With Gauze is a common.
I mean, this
Yeah.
one, like this
Red
this
Reboot,
OTS
common.
Yeah, common reboot, common snow, common Destrudo, super rare chalice. Like, there's some really banging reprints in here. And like, okay, sure, not everyone wants to have like, what is it, Albaz Enchantress Skill Drain, but you know, Enchantress still relevant right now.
Skill Drain?
Albaz, pretty. Skill Drain,
I mean,
like the horns.
I do like when the ultis are totally just luxury cards. I guess Enchantress is expensive, but they're like luxury cards you just do not really need. I guess common Skill Drain would have been way more preferred for like that
Budget
card
players.
needing a reprint. Yeah, but
Mm.
I like it more when the super and common slot is where the actual reprints are, right?
Yeah. I think like remember like OTS 12 when we started was like common Tinky, super Jack Jag, super Salaman Great Rage.
Because they could have done like
Super Green
ulti
Maju.
snow and that was the reprint, and everyone would be like, ugh, like
Yeah.
that's not a reprint. So I think it's
Yeah.
cool.
I think it's very good, and I think that's the sort of thing that OTS packs should be, right? That they should be packs that when you go to a tournament or you go to a hobby league as a new player, you open it up and be like, oh, there's a staple that I need. Sweet, I've got it now. You know,
Yeah.
I've been picking up commons, which I
Yeah.
normally don't do because it's just like, oh, Swamp Battle Guard, cool. I don't need 5,000 of this card.
Yeah, but you go, oh, someone left a snow.
I'll take
That's-
any gauze I
yeah.
see.
I'll take the Destrudo. I'll take the Gauze.
Out of respect. I'm just like,
Yeah.
you guys got to put some respect on this guy's name. This was the best card for like 3 years.
At 1 was
Yeah.
put to 1.
No,
But
so
that's been
yeah,
fun. Yeah, it's a good feel, and this is what I've been like harping on about with deck design is like when you get to play your own deck,
Yeah.
the game is fun as hell.
When you get to buy a new set and put basically 3 of every card in your deck and then edit that down, I think is where it's strongest.
That's
and you
why-
look at
yeah.
things like Virtual World, like Tri Brigade, it's like those were decks where it was like, yep, these all work.
you're right.
I think it's a good avenue. And then we're just on the cusp of Tactical Masters coming out here in the TCG. So that'll introduce Valence, Runic, and Labyrinth. This is probably going to be OC legal. Do we anticipate like these strategies having any impact? / do we think that anything will change on the ban list because of them? Like,
I think like Labyrinth has potential to like annoy people and like be a decent trap deck. The other two I'm not too familiar with. I think you guys could probably talk a little bit more on those. But like for me,
Mill.
Mill, yeah. I mean, we already kind of have a Mill deck in Tier Element, right?
I mean,
Someone activates like mystical ref panel on, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose so. I think Tactical Masters is a bit of a, it's like kind of Angui in that like aside from a couple of cards that might see play in some decks, I think it's much more pick your flavor of niche gimmick deck, and particularly Runic. I think there will just be like a type of human being that sees that and just becomes a Runic main for the rest of their life, right?
yeah, just banishing cards.
Like the people who see Paleo or Mystic Mine and it's just like, I don't care if this is bad or if no one likes playing against it. I'm going to main this for like 7 years, right? Runic is definitely that vibe. I think there's definitely a type of person that wants to just see the world burn and play that deck because it will definitely not win many games. But the games that it wins will be the most frustrating games you've ever played.
Yeah.
And then Valiant, I still don't think have a combo. I don't think anyone's actually bothered to work it out yet.
No, I mean, again, that deck in the OCG only had a chance because of Electromite.
Yeah,
All right,
we're
okay.
really not coping with that one. I was even talking to someone about Beyond the Pendulum, and they were like, "Oh, this card's great. You can like search Chronograph and use its effect." I'm like, "No, you can't." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Scale effects, buddy."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, this card sucks." I'm like, "Unfortunately, it does."
It
Without
is-
Electromite,
it
with
is
Electromite, it's crazy.
strictly fine. Yeah.
Going Electromite into Beyond the Pendulum, insane.
Stunning.
That would be cracked.
We
but
live for that. We live for that action.
Unfortunately.
And then, so yeah, I think OCG releases, they just received the structure deck. We're obviously waiting to see the rest of this new set, Amazing Defenders as well.
Exiled support, baby.
Exod. Where's that structure deck retrain?
You know they just print like Rock Armageddon Knight, and Adamancipators would be like, okay. Cool.
Yuck.
Yeah. They just print like 5 good rock monsters that Adamancipator gets to play, and everyone would just ignore the rest.
Or they just
So
print like a really bad Exod like boss monster just to make a meme out of it again.
They have to be like, while this card is face up on the field, your opponent isn't allowed to activate cards unless they involve battling this card, double the damage, and like just literally the most stupid floodgate ever to force your opponent to attack it.
Yeah.
And go, yeah, 8,000 to the face, defense position. Let's go.
That's so funny.
Oh man,
Yeah, where's that structure deck retrain? I mean,
Agreed.
speaking of retrains, the next one on the list, if we're going in sequence, is Dragons Collide.
Ooh.
Did you
Wyver burst a retrain. I mean, that card's not good enough to
did
play.
you play the structure deck when it came out, Joe?
No.
The Dragons Collide one.
No, I wasn't actually playing at that point, I don't think. I remember coming back and it being around, but like, was it 2012? It was about
It
then.
was. I mean, it's right after Dark World, so I think Dark World was 2011.
Yeah, it was 2011.
Yeah, so I wasn't there, but it was
Can't wait for
during
them to
one of my
print, like,
breaks.
worst Eclipse Wyvern.
Yeah.
Structure deck,
And
we
good
made
luck.
the card worse so it can be legal?
Yeah.
What is the plan?
Can banish it, but you cannot add it to your hand that turn.
Yeah.
Give it to like Sangan clause. It's like you banish it, but you can't activate or use. The
I guess the move would be they like errata Eclipse Wyvern and then
Mm.
put it
one
in the
effect
deck.
per turn.
Sure, yeah. Eclipse Wyvern's fine. I mean, like, what are you going to search? A dragon? I mean, there's no way to do that.
They literally just printed Bisted.
There's no way to search a dragon. I mean, that's like borderline impossible in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think. So, you know,
I've never seen it, so
it's a pretty unique effect, I'd say.
a girl can dream. And I think so. In your local area, Joe, do you have many people playing the new
Yeah,
formats, like new
Actually,
cards?
we do. I was quite surprised because obviously Palmy's been known as relatively rogue for a while, but I know of about 3 or 4 people that picked up Tier Element, or like a form of it. I think we got one player playing like an Eldritch version of it. We have
Yeah, no, that does sound like it would work.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
It sounds like it would be pretty good, actually.
I think he's like on Eldritch branded Tier Element. It's pretty weird, but it'll work. That was Huggy. I think he's playing. He's a side note as well. He's won the last like 6 Hobby Leagues in a row.
Must be a good deck then.
Yeah, well, even just on pure Eldritch at the moment, I think. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and then I think Ali or someone has picked up Sprite. Sprite seems to be the one that people don't want to pick up for some reason. I feel like people are looking at Tier Element, going, "That looks a bit more fun." But yeah, I'm quite excited to see all these guys like using up to date new meta decks. I suppose. Might even start hopping into Hobby League again myself.
Hell
But
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to hear that because I think a lot of people on initial first glance was like, Sprite's busted. Sprite's insane.
And it is.
Sprite's unbeatable.
It just won the regional, so it is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Those statements are not false. However, I think based on at least population and general consensus that we've got around, there's a lot more Tier Element players. Why do you think that is?
It's cooler.
I think Joe is right. It's just more fun.
Yeah.
Milling cards is the most addictive thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! It is just so much fun to spin that way. It's like opening a booster pack, right? I think someone even said resolving Chaos Ruler feels like opening a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards because you look at it and go like, ooh, I got that. Ooh, I like that to my hand. It just feels so rewarding, and I think Sprite, on the other hand, just appeals to math freaks who just want a very tuned and consistent deck that does literally the same thing every game. It's like people who play Sword Soul religiously. It's like, yes, I do want to summon Baron Chi Zhao. Thank you. What of it?
Yeah. I think there's a bit more variance in it. It's also probably a more skillful deck to play in a way, like Tier Element. It will reward players that can understand how to order chain links.
Put it right. It's like he is afraid of a good Tier Element player way more than he's afraid of a good Sprite player, but there will be way less good Tier Element players. Is how he would. The ceiling on Tier Element is
super high.
The highest I think a deck has ever had, because there's never been a deck that can play on your turn as much as Tier Element opening Harvness on your, you know what I mean? That is the most cracked thing you can ever do, is summon Winder, Dragosta Pelia without a battle phase because it's the first turn. But of course it has lower lows because you have to open at least one Chiron or one Rhino Heart to play reliably.
Yeah.
And it folds to interaction. Sprite feel very hard to stop when they do open that hand.
Yeah. And sometimes when you just open I don't know, 3 or 4 Tier Element cards and nothing else to go with them, and then they hand trap the normal summon of Rhino Heart, you're like, okay, pass. Yeah, so it very much feels like a fusion deck in that sense, where you can just get stuck
with lots of trap cards and a Tier Element monster. I think when I open 4 Tier Element monsters, I win. I think it's like VDub in that way, where it's like, oh, this hand is unstoppable. Whereas when you open trap, a King of the Swamp and 1 tier, you're like, this is not going to go that far unless I get really lucky.
Yeah.
And my opponent might just, like you said, crow 1 fusion summon. You go, pass.
Your turn.
Yeah.
The traps do a lot, right? The VDub traps do absolutely nothing when you brick on them.
Yeah, one that matters in the mid to late game.
Yep. And they aren't live, right? Unless you have setup.
Potentially as well, another reason we're seeing Tier Element being the more popular deck anyway, locally here anyway, would be that you can play it with pure, you can play a punk version, you can play a branded version. Apparently you can play an Eldritch version. So, there's so many different versions of the same deck that you can just you can play it to your taste as such. Whereas Sprite is it's got the one flavor, it's a lemon citrus flavor. And it's lemon lime, yeah.
Stuck with Sprite now.
Yeah. So I guess that's the difference between the two decks, in my opinion, anyway.
I also think I think my exciting looks at Sprite are when the Ishizu stuff comes out, because then it's like you get to then build a deck that goes, okay, I play if
Sprite?
I get milled. Like it's like the techs get more interesting.
Oh,
Because
sure.
right now it's just Diva. Because there's no threats to the main deck.
Yeah, you got to
at
play
all.
Beaver when Shizu comes out.
That's the thing, is it's like Diva, and everyone's like, oh, maybe I've got I think we did the math. It's like Sprite decks have 6 slots of flex, and so you see people maybe ticking in the level 2 Sea Serpent that can be used as an 8.
Or the E-Tally package.
The E-Tally stuff, it's just a bit more, it's a bit more solved. Whereas Tier is just so open, and there's no max C, so you can just play full greed and not just lose to a bug.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Exactly. We still have totally.
You
as
can
well.
make totally awesome in T-Element really easy as well.
You can, yeah. And
is
I like the fact it has a little tiny flex spot for rank 4s as well.
Oh,
which is kind
Rank
of cool.
4s are the end board, baby. I'm doing
Yeah,
Redo pass winning. It's great.
Redoer is so good.
Redo is so good. He's just a big problem.
is that kind of would you say that's the most surprising thing to come out of the decks, or was that played in Japan? I don't.
It was played, yeah.
Probably was, yeah.
I'm not surprised that Redoer is good. Redoer has been
Waiting.
probably the strongest rank 4 ever printed when it's been playable.
Yeah.
In what was it? Lunalight Xyz?
Yeah.
Redoer was the problem card.
Mm.
In this deck, Redoer is the problem card. Being able to trigger effects by detaching is
It's stupid.
not okay.
It's so dumb. It's like the Cherubini problem again.
Yeah.
Send in for
It's
cost.
the opposite.
But
Yeah, it's the
opposite
Detach
problem,
for
but
effect.
similar sort of thing, yeah. Whereas
Reader again has that policy where it's this is a really good card, and then you go standby phase and rip a spell, and you're like, sure,
yeah,
Rip a trap.
I'll draw.
cool.
Fine.
Now I'm also gonna draw a card. Let's just go nuts for no reason.
I think
People will get really mad at T-Element high rolling them to crap, right?
oh yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna steal games that are just well, what was I supposed to do?
yeah.
Come on.
I think the other thing is a lot of people once it leaves the field as well, forget about the card for a bit, and they're like, okay, I think I can survive this, and then it comes back, and then they're like, oh yeah, that's right.
You just
Playing 400. It's your Mystic Mind win con is just make Redoer pass, and then just keep tagging it out so it never triggers Demise of the Land. That's the best way to win.
Yeah, yuck, Mystic Mind, go away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm. What about you guys here? What are you playing this format? What are you looking forward to?
I'm playing Tears, baby.
Cheers, yeah.
Luke's is loving Tier. Very, very fun strategy. I think
And
it's
Ruben?
been very interesting. I'm an Exorcister.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruben can talk a bit about playing anti-meta.
Well, anti-meta being exactly 3 copies of a level 6 Dark Spellcaster with a quick effect in hand.
Yeah, Apprentice Illusion Magician.
Yeah, Apprentice Illusion. Illusion of Chaos. I think that's the 7, actually.
Dimension
Spiral
Shifter,
Master Plan.
obviously.
Yeah, Dimension Shifter. Cards incredulous. We joke about haha, Shifter Pass. It's literally Shifter Pass, this format. If
Yeah.
you are sitting against a T-Element player and they stick a monster and go effect and you just go Shifter, you put them on 1 card. 1 card that stops your entire strategy, and that's Call by the Grave. I think my advice going forward to anyone that is wanting to play Sisters or a anti-meta strategy, wait till monsters are on the field, because Gamma is so strong this format. It's crazy. I think you said it's the only hand trap you're playing in your T-Element build. Dragon Link still plays it. Sprite obviously play it because it's an E-Tally package. And it's so many decks have the ability to just play Gamma. And so Shifter's insane value is unparalleled. Also, a lot of the times it's playing Exorcister, you don't your hand traps or your interaction doesn't do too much. You maybe look at an Ash and go, this doesn't really hit. And if you just let the turn pass and it's maybe not as strong as you thought, and you just draw Shifter, you go, great, I've just to put you off another 2 turns of graveyard interaction. The strategy itself, very, very good. I think a lot of people, now more than ever, are interacting with the grave. And the Martha single-handedly catapulted this deck to playability. Shout out to the few Exorcister players that I know that previously were trying to make this deck work without, losing to go to battle phase. And Returnia is incredible removal and interaction. And the big thing is that a lot of people don't understand with the Exorcister is that Martha triggers any time a card leaves the grave, not just if your opponent does. So you tick things like DD Crow, your Call by the Grave triggers your Martha. the Trap to banish from grave, Michaelis to banish from grave. They all trigger Martha to Xyz summon over top. I've been finding a lot of success with it. I think it's a really good strategy. I think, it loses to the same things that like any kind of rogue strategy does, where it's like, okay, get rid of my back row. I have significantly less. But at the same time, I can also, like, it's mitigated by the fact that the new Trap lets you Xyz summon. So if you're ending on things like, the special 2 from deck and the banish, and they go Duster, you can then put your monsters that you summon off the Trap into an Xyz summon.
It's really hot, yeah.
And, the Martha lock is needed. I think this deck would be unstoppable tier 1 if Martha didn't lock you.
Yeah, because you'd play Martha in any deck.
Yeah.
And just get a free rank 4 for nothing.
Yeah. Or it's like Martha is specifically saying you cannot the turn. So it's like there's no way that you could even cheat around and then go, oh, it's for the rest of the turn. Yeah. I think, I've been playing a lot with Ultimate Slayer because of the extra deck being so open. And I think that it's fine. I think we've talked about it, though, at least between Lucas and I, is that the existence of anti-spells still around makes a lot of these like go second board breaker spells basically useless.
If we were doing a painful choice for cards that we just want to go, I think it would be like exactly
Mystic Mine and Anti-Spell.
Mystic Mine, Anti-Spell, Hulk, Scythe. Like those, Hulk not in the same caliber, but kind of, yeah, Anti-Spell, Mystic Mine, Scythe. Effectively lock you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
you could
I'd say no.
Barrier.
MBT made a good point that they're cards that if they left the format would not adjust the best decks even remotely.
Yeah.
But it would make the format like 50 times more fun to play in because there aren't just catch-all. It's like IO. It's like there isn't just like a catch-all win the game flip button that, sometimes I've been staring down a Dragon Link board like, all right, I can do this and then, I'll bait that out with anti-spell, cool, now next game.
Yeah.
And it doesn't promote good gameplay. They probably would have won that game anyway because they have everything. But it just feels so bad to be like, oh, this, just tell me. I literally say to people like, you should have just said you had anti-spell. I would have scooped. Like, literally just tell me, oh, I got anti-spell. I'd be like, all right, next game. Because like, why waste my time sitting through all that combo, interacting with it when they're just going to win with a purple card they can flip?
Yeah, exactly.
It's very frustrating. And I want to play Ultimate Slayer, but I've cut it because I don't want to lose to anti-spell. I need to play quick plays. And looking at the sprite list that won the tournament, I mean, I saw Judgment, Dynamiscus evenly. Ain't no Ultimate Slayer because that side deck is clearly under the premise that they are going to probably side in anti-spell against you. And, you have to just mitigate that with, I think evenly matched is probably just like the premier board wipe of the format because of anti-spell. And if it were gone, we could play Lightning Storm, Ultimate Slayer, stuff like that.
The not having to main deck Dark Ruler.
This deck wasn't even on Dark Ruler.
Exactly.
I presume for exactly that reason, right? I'm going to hand trap you, and then when you only have one negate, I'll evenly you, and then we'll play.
This just looks like a very cookie cutter, like very like consistent build.
I expect to see this list show up everywhere now. Like everyone's just going to take this list, and that's the list.
Yeah, I can't wait to go to Hobby this week and see 4 Sprite players on card for card this build.
I do think the Live Twin list has some legs. People have been playing that too, and I think those people will not abandon it just yet.
No.
Well, I think, to me, my opinion on Sprite is that, yes, it's obviously quite strong in individuality, as we've seen. I think the engine, it thrives as an engine. Like, seeing it in Evil Twins, seeing it in Adamancipator, seeing it in Melfi, it's like, these builds, you utilize it in a very open way.
Reminds me of Link Cross, where you play your own deck, it gets hand trapped, and then you go, all right, Link Cross, Hulk, Auroradon combo.
Yeah.
It feels like that again, where it's like you interrupt them, and then they're like, well, now you interrupted my Live Twin plays. Here's Gigantic Sprite, and here's 2 negates. Good luck.
It's the fallback.
Going back to Exorcister real quickly, can we just put a picture up for the YouTube viewers of Ruben's Exorcister deck in particular?
Sure, yeah. When we get the third Starlight Martha,
it just looks so good.
Yeah, when the third Martha arrives in the mail, I will be
flexing.
That content will be available on onlyfans.com/theface-downs.
I think that one's taken. I'm sorry.
Honestly, that's a good one.
Actually, it probably is.
I'm just thinking that's probably done.
Someone probably snagged that one.
Let's find out.
But yeah, I mean, it's fun. I'm a chronic Max Rarity person. Speaking of which, Pote Starlight's good and all. I'm shocked there wasn't one for Sprite or tier.
Me too.
Like
Elf was so free, right? Just like
Carlos,
or
so
blue.
free.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'm not gonna, I think the Starlight choices for Pote were, a pretty decent spread around. Obviously, RIPU having to get a DPE, and then obviously, I wanted to deny Martha being a Starlight. However, the cookie fell as it did. But then Slayer, Cookie Cutter, and Ulcer. To me, the only one that stood out there was the Cookie Cutter. Like, I didn't anticipate that.
She didn't need it.
She didn't need it. Yeah. And again, I feel like that's a card from Power of the Elements that gets better later.
I'm putting it next to Bahalutia and Miradora. That's where she goes.
Yeah. Sorry, Miss
Yeah.
Cookie Cutter.
But that's been Yu-Gi-Oh! We didn't do a banlist podcast today because we're hoping to stretch that one out, so we can lure
Fingers
Joe back in
crossed
for next week.
Yeah, we'll be there.
It'll be interesting in terms of like when the ban list arrives. Obviously, there's been regionals in America this weekend, so I think it would be quite a shock for people if they're like, "Oh, new set, new ban list." But again, they did do that last time.
If Dagda Scythe was in the Sprite deck, I think they would have put the ban list out this week. But it wasn't. There was no Mystic Mine either, so
I think
the cards are fair and we shouldn't ban them.
I mean, slight adjustments is all that we really need. We don't need a full reset.
I literally don't want them to hit a single deck. I just
No.
want them to hit the cards we listed. And we'll talk more about this
Yeah.
on the Painful Choice
And
next
so,
week.
I mean, our assumption is that it's either like this week or after EU Nationals, which is the 19th of August.
Yeah. If there is one like tomorrow, we'll just do an emergency podcast. We'll find
Yeah.
some time.
Yeah, we'll
But
make
you
it
know
work.
what? We'll make it work.
Yep.
But it's been fun catching up.
Yeah, we should-
back on it.
We definitely, and I know we said this last time, but like we should be hitting these more consistently now. Now that the week guys settle down a bit and he's in a bit more of a routine, it's going to be a bit easier for me anyway to hop on the podcast. And
And Yu-Gi-Oh's playable again.
yeah, and
We're
I'm sleeping
excited.
more.
Ooh, very nice.
Ooh,
How much did you get last night?
about 7 or 8 hours last night.
Let's go.
That's pretty decent.
Yeah,
Dom.
not bad. I mean, yeah, so it's been pretty good. But
Yeah. Excellent. Well,
We're happy to be back. Happy to hear all the stories about new format, and happy to get ready for the future.
give us
good
the
old
outro,
Steve
Ruben.
is back. By the way,
Steve's back, baby, and it's good this time.
Shout
It's
out
not even
Steve
cope.
is back with a vengeance. Well, thank you so much for listening along with us on another episode of the Face Downs. If you like what you're listening to, you can follow us on your preferred podcasting method and rate and review us and leave us 5 stars. It would be greatly appreciated. If you're watching along on YouTube, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with a friend. It helps as always. We have like visual stuff, and obviously we'll put up very shiny pictures for this video. If you have any questions, comments, queries, or concerns, please email us at thefacedowns@gmail.com. And be sure to tune in to the Oceanic Championship the 3rd and 4th of September. Lucas and Joe will be providing live commentary for the event under the Face Downs team.
Official.
Official.
You have to watch us. There's no other way.
Official mandatory viewing.
I'm really
and that's
looking
us.
forward to that. It's gonna be
Oh,
good.
it's going to be amazing.
I'm gonna wear like a suit. I want to wear like.
And your cool blue eyes beanie you got.
I got a sick Yu-Gi-Oh beanie from my friend. I can wear that.
Oh,
too.
please wear a suit and a Yu-Gi-Oh beanie. That'd be great.
That's a dope.
Honestly, that's a serve.
that person is selling drugs out back of the club. You
And
know?
those drugs, Power of the Elements, because it's sold out.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah,
Allegedly.
yeah, allegedly. But as always, thank you so much for listening. I'm Ruben,
I'm Lucas.
And I'm Joe.
and you've been listening to
The Face Downs.
Oh, it's just as good as I remember. It's the worst bit we have.